Hi, Etty. How are you?
Doing great, thank
Good.
you.
Good to see you. Thank you for
Thanks for
agreeing to
inviting me.
the interview for ArtHeads, my new platform. Excited to talk to you about your work. I've admired your work for a long time. I was lucky enough to make the choice to come visit you when I was up in Brooklyn one year, and it was during open studios. And I was like, I really want to see this person's work and find out who she is. And so I ventured over to your studio and had the good fortune to see work from over the years, really, some of your drawings and ink drawings and your photo collage. And there's just so much. And then since then, um, we have seen each other. We've crossed paths when I've been in New York. You've covered some of my work for some of my exhibitions on Art Spiel, which we'll talk about. Your platform, which is a beautiful platform featuring different artists and writers that are able to talk about the work and express so well. And it's beautiful archive for artists to have and to read up on people. And then also, I've just wanted to find out more about you. Of course, I've watched some of your interviews and read your website and everything about you. But when I asked you, I want this platform to be a little bit more personal or direct or individual. So I really wanted to dig down on just a couple portfolios of work that I was especially intrigued by. So thank you for agreeing to do that.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. I want to introduce you to everybody by just kind of reading your bio it's beautiful, all the things that you've done. And I think that's going to bring us, because I'm so interested in your travels and how you've made this journey of yours, this art journey of yours about your work and your travels and the way you've dug into some writings and what's important to you. And so maybe we could hit on all of that, but let me read this briefly. Etty Yaniv works on her art writing, and curatorial projects in Brooklyn. She has exhibited in solo and group shows at galleries and museums nationally and internationally, including the Haifa Museum of Art in Israel, State Silk Museum in Georgia, Newark Museum of Art in New Jersey, Monmouth Museum of Art in New Jersey, Torrance Art Museum, California, Air Gallery, which if you want to talk about that a little bit more, or any of these, because that gallery is very well known in Brooklyn. Well, all of these are. Sheen Cultural Center, New York City, Long Island University, Brooklyn, Kean University in New Jersey, Purdue University in Indiana, University of Connecticut in Stamford, Connecticut, Helen Day in Vermont, Musée Heritage Museum in Albert, Canada, St. Albert, Canada, 01 Biennial in San Francisco, and Leipzig, Germany. And then in 2022, you had a site-specific installation called Inversion, which we're going to look at, exhibited at the Palazzo Mora in Venice at Art Biennale. And your work is in institutional and private collections nationally and internationally, including the State Silk Museum in, I don't know how to pronounce Tbilisi, Georgia. People can read that.
Capital.
The Foundation Center in New York City, ElephantArt, Switzerland, and other private collections in the USA, Israel, Australia, Europe, and Canada. And you were awarded the Two Trees Studio program since 2018, and you founded the online magazine Art Spiel, which you are the chief editor. And so that's what I was mentioning before. So that's fantastic to learn all of that about you. So just wanted to share that with listeners, watchers, readers. Um, so is there anything you'd like to say before we start in with the conversation by looking at the images?
No, let's just Start rolling.
All right, so I'm going to share this wonderful portfolio of images. So we're going to start here,
Oh, okay.
right?
I
Oh,
think
sorry.
we wanted to start from the into the milestone, but
We
that's
go.
fine by me. Yeah, I think this was one.
Yes. Instead of
Doesn't matter. We can go. We can change the narrative as we go.
Oh, no, I just clicked on the wrong one. That was my fault. Here we go. We're going to start here. So, tell us about this installation and, how it came to happen, how you were curated into this exhibition or making this solo exhibition. And it's beautiful. Like, this is just like the first foray people will see through this interview of your work and the combination of gorgeous materials. And tell us some background about this piece and the getting in, making this show happen.
So this is first of all, Hannah Tierney, who is the director, the founder of 5 Miles in Brooklyn Heights, New York. She's an amazing woman, an amazing artist. And the gallery, like it's a space that had really fabulous exhibitions. So this is the space is actually a store for you can see it from the outside.
Oh,
So it's almost like a diorama, kind of a deep diorama,
yeah.
because you can stand outside and look at it. And this is an important fact because it was during COVID. So this was actually installed and done, and we were all with masks and really scared
Yes.
of getting close to people. And so I think that's an important fact related to this work, that it was done during COVID. And it was actually, there was a big halt, hiatus in exhibitions, and this was one of those that we started going back to. And since it was open to the outside as well, people felt more comfortable
Yes.
reaching it or getting inside because there was an outside.
Yeah, that's a fascinating factor. It was so frustrating to not know what's going to happen to shows or how we're going to get our work out there. And this is the perfect answer to that. And I love that you call this just like a large diorama. It's a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah, and Hannah is very adamant about the gray in her gallery. So she has all walls painted in this very specific gray. And I actually, at the beginning, I'm so used to white walls, and it was an adjustment. I say, I love this gray, fell in love with gray. Now everything is gray for me in terms of walls, a little bit of gray. But yeah, so this is a close-up of this. It's made of paper mostly, and a lot of snippets of drawings, very lightweight. It represents my work, definitely the phase where I was working more with paper. And then the materials here are made of drawings and previous installations that I recycle. So you can say that this is all found material in a way, found material from my own world.
Right.
Some of it found material from the outside, but that's what it is. The title for this was Into the Maelstrom. Do you pronounce it right? Maelstrom. It's like
Sounds-
um,
Mhm.
it's based on a book by Edgar Allan Poe, which is called The Descent into the Maelstrom. So I kind of shortened it, but it's about a sailor that gets stuck in a whirlpool in a big storm, and he survives by being very attentive to the details and facing the abyss. So he faces the abyss, and on the way, he pays attention to all the details around him, and that's what saves him. So I thought it's very interesting and poignant, and especially when it was during COVID,
Yeah.
And we were on the edge of the abyss, felt it. We were so vulnerable and felt it's kind of the end of of the world coming, what's going on, how are we going to survive this? And so it was in this context was a good I mean, of course you can attribute it to facing nature, facing the climate change and all the rest of it, but it all comes together here in the
And also I mean, that analogy is uh also, the details in the actual piece, and you're using these details of your work historically, like your drawings and your photography and all of these pieces. And it's, we see something and it's this, I was just talking about this to somebody the other day, you see a piece that's, broad and has lots of work in it, and it's like, but when you pay attention to the details, like look at the time that and what a person put into the work, like you have, there's a way to zoom in on this and get lost in that big current way of a wave in here, and there's a way to zoom out and see the wave. So it's a really beautiful analogy to everything you're talking about, obviously, and the storm and the story. And I love how you drew on that story to make that association. And tell us, like, what comes, is there a first, second, third? Did this story come to you as something pertinent? Or is it something you had already read when you were making this? Or is this something that kind of like cropped up during the making? How did you find that association?
It's a very interesting question, and the answer varies to each project. Sometimes I start something and then I read something along the way, and then it just comes together.
Yeah,
Sometimes I read something and then I start making, and it's not like an illustration of the piece, but it's some sort of an echo of the piece, or some sort of conversation with the piece, some sort of a guideline in a way, like a little bit of an anchor to the
right,
piece.
right.
I think this one was in parallel. I actually started work. I start playing with this form, and then I read the book. I read
Mhm.
the story. I happened to
Yeah,
read the story, and it just came together.
I see. Yeah, that's great to know. This piece is so awesome, and as are they all. It's such a dichotomy to be looking at this piece that appears to have so much depth, and yet we're so up close to it at the same time. And in that window, can you tell us about this project?
Yeah, I love this project. So first of all, this is a project that's called Main Window in Dumbo, Brooklyn.
Hmm.
And it runs by Beth Derry and Jeff Wallace. I think Jeff Wallace is more active now, and Beth Derry, not sure if she's still active there, but that she invited me. They both invited me to do something in that window. Um, so talking about diorama, this is a diorama.
Yeah.
It's a shallower diorama, and what's very interesting and very challenging here is the dimension of the space and the fact that there's a door that opens inside. When you see the
Ah,
stairs on the right,
yeah.
there's a door that opens in, so you really have to be a bit of an acrobat to go up. It's high, it's tall space, very narrow. You need to kind of jump up to hang it from the ceiling. But
Oh my
what
goodness.
yes, the other challenging element is this very pronounced gilded frame, the gold frame there. So you can treat it as an obstacle, or you can treat it as something that
Right.
you want to use.
Yeah.
And then the way I approach it, I was reading about this building. It's fascinating history there in Dumbo, which they really preserved. it belonged to the Geyer company. I hope I pronounce it right. I'm doing it from reading, so I'm not sure if it's a Geyer or Geyer. But this person, he invented some sort of a patent on boxes, how to pack, like what was it? Pre-cut cardboard boxes. And that was in 1890. This building was built in 1914, so it's like the beginning of the 20th century. It was a huge industrial boom in that area. There was the port, there's the water, there's the waterfront, there's a lot of industrial architecture in this area of the city, in this neighborhood. So I really wanted to talk about that, and the fact that this building is the first building from the water. So I wanted to deal with water. This is about water. This is also the subway. What you see there at the background is the subway stairs.
Wonderful.
That I go up and down all the time, going to my studio. Actually, this is actually the subway stairs. Wow. And I wanted to bring some sort of a depth into this very shallow space, and that was my that was my ambition there. Yeah. The other issue with the space for me was the reflections, because it's outside and there is a window, and when people crawl, you see all the reflections of the cars and all this. So I thought it was fascinating actually to see the work with the reflections.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that talks about the space and yet another dimension. You keep breaking the fourth wall all over the place, where it's like this, it's in a frame, but it's got depth, but it's actually, very flat at the same time. And, then you have the inside, the outside, and then the reflection. It's got so many dimensions to it. And you did photograph it well in such a light that we can see it really great without too much reflection.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges to get. I have a lot of images, and some of them are gorgeous, but they don't, because of the reflections. But you want an image that really, defines the work. And
yes, and I love how you brought all these elements together and did the research, to make it relative to the space and the building and a time and a history. It's fantastic. Okay, so then here we're going to watch a little video from here. And can you see the video?
I can see the video.
Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna start right here. I don't know if people will be able to hear, but we can. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this, because right now we just have the
Yeah, so this was in a very old palazzo in Palazzo Mora in Venice. It was a site specific. The architecture of the room was very interesting and challenging, because on one side it was a straight wall, the other side was curved. How come you don't hear? I don't hear either.
Yeah, I'm afraid. I think just talk over it if you don't mind, please, because
yeah, we can do that. No problem. It's ambient music here. There's no language anyway. So what I did was here, these are all modular pieces that I made. I did some research with scientists here from the Institute of Marine Research in Venice, and they researched the canal. They researched the environmental elements in the canal, all the morphologies that emerge after, the man-made interventions like cruise ships and all the debris and all that in the canal. So that you probably read that after or during COVID, the water was crystal clear, and, wow. and yeah, it was amazing to see. And when I was there, I was impressed, because when I was in Venice before the COVID, it was it was dirty. It was murky waters.
Oh,
And when I was there, it was it was kind of the end of the first COVID. It was,
yeah.
the water was so clear. And I told the people there, I said, oh my God, the canal looks so crisp and clear. And they said, ah, you should have seen it before, like a few months before. So
Wow.
during COVID, it was crystal clear. So I was thinking
Oh,
about that too. And I was working with the imagery. I got the imagery from the scientists, it's bathymetric imagery that it's like a topographic map of the land under the water.
mhm.
And
Oh,
it shows in different colors, and outlines. And I was also looking at the marine life there, very rich marine life, and obviously thinking about all the environmental issues. And when I was working with the space, I thought, how to approach this, since the ceiling is so high and this palazzo is very old, and Venice is well known for all the ceiling painting, the gorgeous ceiling paintings.
yeah.
I knew that I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to start from the ceiling, and inversion is because it starts from the ceiling and falls
Ah,
down into the ground. So it's like an upside down kind of canal, essence view.
yeah, that's
And
fascinating.
and the other thing was that when you looked outside, I mean, outside of the room, there were windows with view of half Venice. It was incredible view. It was up top in this, it was in the top floor, and the light changed.
Oh,
So the each hour of the day, it looked totally different. It looked different in the day, then it's in the
oh,
afternoon, and then at night. So that
fabulous.
was also
How the
a
heck
very
did you
interesting
get that high up there? You had ladders.
letters. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, they actually installed it for me,
Oh,
and
nice.
I later on tweaked it. So
Yeah.
the work, yeah, I was
Sorry.
working there for like about 2 weeks.
Tell how did that come to happen? Like this is so beautiful. How how did this come to happen? How did this exhibition come around for you?
But they invited me,
Nice.
and I decided to go for it.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. And you had been there, and so you had the flavor of Venice in your mind as you were kind of,
Yeah, it's
yes.
really an amazing overall experience, I have to say. I mean, when I was there, there was the Kiefer show and the
Oh, nice.
Marlene Dumas show. I mean, like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, two greats.
it was a treat.
Yeah. Oh man, I would have loved to. I saw Marlene Dumas. I mean, I've uh an exhibition up in New York a couple years ago, and I've loved her work for a long time, and Kiefer. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The
I mean that
Kiefer,
must
the
have been
Kiefer show was just unique because it was this place, the Palazzo Ducale. You would go throughout the whole, the amazing art there, and at the end you go to the Kiefer
wow.
area. It's just, it was like born there.
Oh,
It's amazing and profound.
was it a huge space for his work?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, huge. Yeah,
amazing. It's
yeah.
fantastic. Um, Here we have some.
So this is a close up from Scylla. It's a sea monster. Scylla is from Greek myth, and you see just a close up because all the works have a lot of detail and they're very layered. So you can't really see, no matter where you look, you see something else, and you really
Yeah,
have to kind of peek inside to look at to see I would call it vignettes. I mean, the work is abstract from the outside, from far away, but when you get close, there are many, many little narratives.
yeah.
Um, and so this is from an installation in Kean University. It's a beautiful space. At the front, it's kind of like a regular gallery, and then you go in the back and there's a shock of the high, super tall ceiling, like cathedral, huge, like a church ceiling. I don't know, really tall.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and I hung, so at the front I did one installation that fits this gallery, and then at the back I hung this this installation, which a sea monster kind of abstracted, hanging up there in the air. And it's interesting here too, because there are a lot of windows here too.
Ah,
So it's the in and the out again that converses,
yeah.
and again the light that changes. So I'm very drawn to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see part of a window in this one, and it's kind of interesting that it's framed, and then you have this, which is very free form. Um,
Yeah.
wow, look at that.
The tall ceiling, a huge
Yes.
ceiling.
Oh my
You need an
goodness.
elevator, like a lift to get
Yeah.
up there. And I didn't use the whole height. I kind of wanted it to be like human size. And I mean, it's larger than a human size, but there's some that you can really get closer to the sculpture and look at it.
Yeah. And the story on this is interesting, right? Because of the mythology, the story behind it, where it's the two formidable, I'm just reading a little bit here.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us about that? It made me think of a story that I know of, but go ahead and tell us about the story here.
So the story is that there are those two sea monsters
Yeah.
that are on the way of Odysseus and his sailors. So they're in sea, and then there's this water, and on one side there's Scylla, and on the other side there's Charybdis. And that's why Scylla or Charybdis is like an idiom that you say, choose between the two bad alternatives. Nothing is really great, but
Yes.
it
Yeah.
just and he chose Scylla. And he
Yes.
did eat a few sailors, but okay. So I called it Scylla, and I had in mind the Charybdis, which I did make, but at the end
Oops.
at
I'm
the
so
end
sorry.
I recycled it, so it
I'm so.
doesn't exist anymore. Maybe at some point.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
this is no, these are sirens, so this
Yeah,
is
I'm
different. But I
sorry.
am drawn to the sea, and the all
Yeah.
the just
Um, well, I mean, yeah, there was these two choices, and neither choice is a good choice. And it just kind of reminded me of the story. I don't know if you know it. It's I don't have the whole history, but it's tigers below, tigers above. It's this woman, I think it's a Buddhist story, and maybe people will know it that here that she was being chased by a tiger, and she grabs onto this vine, and she's hanging from the vine, and but up top there's a mouse chewing on the vine, so she has no choice. She's going to die, she's going to fall to the tigers, and she reaches out and she plucks a strawberry off a nearby tree and enjoys it because that's you know her last bit of life. And it's a metaphor for what we take out of life, and that's a very joyous choice. But here we have two sea monsters about to get us. We're in between, but that's so beautiful against this very clean lined space, and what a dream to have the work up there. It's awesome. Now we're going to look at briefly Gorgeous.
no sound.
Oh, no sound. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have to
Yes,
find out how to, but you can tell us about it as we're watching.
sure. So the sound is actually, so that it's a
Oh,
Chopin, and it's a Chopin nocturne, and Tiffany is the dancer. She's an amazing dancer and choreographer, and I was lucky to work with her. we were invited by Nortemar. It's an amazing organization that pairs artists, visual artists with choreographers. And we were paired together, and it was an amazing, an amazing collaboration. I think for both of us, definitely for me. And this is Tiffany.
Sure.
And what you saw now is a part of the studio. We rehearsed it several times. You get about 2 months. It's very short.
Uh-huh.
And you start it from the very beginning. So it's like you have nothing. You just start with
Wow.
nothing, and you start developing this idea
Oh, how
together.
wonderful to work
And
together that way. Yeah.
and the Briefly Gorgeous is the Ocean Vuong, which I didn't read, but Tiffany did. And she came to my studio and she said, I read this book. And we started talking about being immigrants and about she's an immigrant. I don't know, this whole, and the book is about immigration.
Yes.
And we started talking and talking, and we cooked this idea. The Chopin came from the book. I mean, his mother, it's
Yes.
about loss of the mother, and it's about getting a new life in new country. And so the Chopin is her favorite, and we said, let's stick with that. And we started listening to music and choosing the right, exactly the right thing.
Yes.
So we were working together. It was very synergetic collaboration, which was amazing for me. And I continue working with dancers.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is a gorgeous shot too. And
So this is from the theater. There's a real theater production at the end. So it's like a
right.
week of a few productions.
And was that at Nortemar or was that in another location?
No, that's Nortemar.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had an amazing light person.
Yes, obviously. Yes.
that worked with us. So it was really a very profound experience for me. By the way, what she's wearing, the vest she's wearing, is also part of what I made for the show.
Right.
So
Oh, very silly. Yeah, that's a beautiful overlap there. And I love Ocean Vuong. I've listened to that book and I mean, it was so powerful and
yes,
really could not let that go for a long time after
yeah.
really coming to hear that story. I mean, I listened on Audible and his voice is so beautiful. So it was really great to hear it from his voice as well. Um, but yeah, that's super impactful and relative. So beautiful. And I've seen the Norte dancers when I've been up there before at a different exhibition. And I mean, what a wonderful opportunity. And then it gave you the impetus to work with dancers again in the future.
It's a very interesting difference when
Hmm.
you between an installation in a gallery
Right.
and an installation on stage.
Yeah.
So our goal was really to work very synergetically. And what we did was, you see the box on the left, everything, the first thing you see on the stage is a box. You see nothing else. There's a
Uh-huh.
box and there's the hanging, where the things are
Structure.
hanging.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's all you see. So it's very
Oh,
abstract. You have no idea what's going on.
very
But
nice.
she goes in and she starts taking out things. So the whole installation was in the box.
Oh, that's fabulous. Love
She
it.
takes it out, she dances with each piece, represents a different part of the story, different part of her life, a different emotion, a different memory. She hangs it like a cloth. And then she spreads the water, like this is like the water that goes all
Yes.
the way, it went all the way to the audience, this thing. And she's dancing with one shoe, if you noticed.
Oh,
It's hard to see in this
yes,
picture.
I see that.
So also the idea of finding the shoe is part of the story. So it was
Wow.
between abstraction and narrative. We developed the whole thing
I bet she loved
together.
that too. I bet she just loved that as well.
We remained good friends.
I'm sure.
So,
That's definitely a bonding experience.
yes.
This lost objects work is really fascinating as well.
So dance again, this is another dance project that
Mhm.
I actually curated the show. It's in the boy. I organized the show because I'm
Uh-huh.
participating. So
Right.
I call it organization,
Yeah.
and so uh, we. Okay, what is this? I think this is the video of the
I'm
show.
so sorry about the sound. I need
That's
to
okay.
switch to a different platform so that I can put the sound on. So we'll just listen to you describe.
Well, this is a videographer did it for me, took the images, and he found a nice smetana piano, kind of, that's very melancholic for it. So that's what you're gonna hear in the background if you listen to it on my website.
Yes.
But the idea here was this is actually an installation that was based on a wall piece. It's all recycled. I had a big wall piece that was a corner piece, and I didn't want to show it again. I wanted to use it somehow. So I erupted it. I took it out of the frames. It's all canvases. It's like work on canvas. And I started building them as separate mobiles.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
right now here it's more spread. Right now it shows as more of a tall installation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I like, is the flexibility. um
Yes, because yeah, you can remake it for any space as you need. And I love the idea, which I do for my own work, is recycling, like just using parts and making new. Um, this
and
is
there was also the element of movement, which I really enjoyed here.
Mm.
And Louisa Pencoast, she was the choreographer and dancer for this one. She actually choreographed. She made her own choreography for each piece of the show,
Oh,
which had
wow.
John O'Connor in it, Melissa Stern, Yasmin Abdallah.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
So these are the other artists, and each of them had a different, and Levani Minyashvili,
Hmm.
each of them had a different installation, sculpture, drawing, and she choreographed it
Oh,
to address that.
that's beautiful. Each of these is so beautiful.
And the one that you saw before this was in Connecticut. It's a space called Five Points. It's a really lovely gallery that's divided into uh, three three
Mm.
parts.
Okay.
And I showed it in. The other part had more of a group show, and this one was like I had this installation with about 60 paintings on the walls.
Oh, nice.
Just you see here, just I mean, you can see you can see the images of the paintings on in the glass reflection.
Oh, yeah.
But these are skins, and that's something I introduced into my work. I've always been painting. It's
Yeah.
like paint is part of what I do, but it became more and more present after I went to the Golden Foundation
Yeah.
residency. And I really love the material. I love the way I incorporate a lot of things into it, but I
Yeah.
love the
That's
paint.
a great residency. Yeah,
It's
that's wonderful.
amazing.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
so many good things.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, like, learning about and having access to all of this material and the education, and experimentation.
Yes, it's a lot. You learn so much. It's really hard to, you can't process it when you're there. You need like
Uh-huh.
years to process what you learn there. So
Wow, that's awesome. And then here we have sirens.
yeah, this is the floor. No, this is a shot from Sirens in Miami. It was in Miami. Um, the Sirens went through a lot of iterations. It started from a gallery space, and then it went here into this environmental project. Like, yeah, this is more of a gallery space. I think this is from Connecticut, from the UCONN, I believe it is,
Okay.
the UCONN iteration. The thing is that in each space it becomes something else,
Right.
and it really changes, and
Right.
it also the dimension changes, the way it grows. And I didn't have this work for several years, and then I had a chance to get it back.
Oh, okay.
At the beginning, I was hesitant. What am I going to do with it and all this? It's big. It's the
Yeah.
storage has the
Yes.
storage dilemma.
Always
And
storage.
then I don't want to, ruin it because, still I didn't want to
Oh,
recycle it altogether. But
right.
and then I had the chance to show
Right.
it in a space that I really thought it was fit.
Right.
It already lived in Governor's Island, which was amazing because they have all the historical houses there of officers or whoever lived there, and they like, with a fireplace and all the rest of it. So it was
Oh,
one setting. It was in
that's
the
great.
gallery. It was like in a bigger, a larger venue that was. With the black ceiling and all the rest of it. But here it was a very raw industrial section of
Mm.
Westbeth.
Okay.
Uh, and Valerie Allier and two other curators, they made a big project of making art, showing art in three big complexes. So I decided to go for it here.
Yes. That's beautiful. Really beautiful. And the story, like you worked with a story a little bit, how it came to you was not how it came to you, but how the stories seem to be part of it. With this wasn't this with the seventh man or
Yes,
yeah.
the Murakami story.
Yes, I love Murakami. So surreal. It's very hard to describe him to anybody. You just like have to say read it.
Yes, I know, I know. So, the story is about it's a person that tells about how he's lost his best friend in the typhoon,
Yes,
and that he has to. I mean, in a way, it relates to the Edgar Allan Poe
sure.
story in a way. But here I decided to make he encounters this monstrous being, and I was thinking about also about the wave, and was thinking about the sirens in the Greek mythology. So I made a fruit salad out of all of them.
And the idea of like, being abandoned or abandoning somebody you care about and against your will, like he was forced into this position with this wave and, what does he do? How could he get his friend out? And then the fear that haunted him and I assume some guilt that haunted him through the years. And then having this fear of the water and then, coming back to it after many years. It's just a beautiful story.
It's a gorgeous story, and I was thinking about the threat, the monstrosity, but also the beauty of it.
Exactly. I mean, like we see things like, you know, a tornado, and like we just had, I mean, there's so much weather happening all over the world, but you look at the pictures and you could be like, that's so magnificent looking. and you know it's destroying people's lives and homes, but the visual of it, is just like, these fires or this tornado or this, tsunami. But that's what is so, the yin yang of it, I guess. But just, how we can draw on it for its power and beauty, and how there's there's no stopping anything. This is nature raging and doing what it does, and we're kind of in its way. It's not in our way. So it's really beautiful. And then here we are going like towards your, works, your paintings, that are more on panels. Is that right?
Yeah, this is this is small. It's a 12 by 12. And
Mhm.
like the very large scale installations,
Yeah,
I
down to.
I love to work on small paintings. I love to create all those cosmoses inside them. So they look much bigger than what they are. And when you look at them close, it's like, oh, it's so much going on in there, like in
Yes.
the miniature, very compressed, or
It,
very
it
vast
feels
in a
like
small
very,
space.
you give us a typography, like a view from above to me, or, like, looking down on this land, and there's just so much almost map-like quality, or I don't know if I'm saying any of that right, but that's what some of it comes to me. It's like these little cityscapes in there, and
Mhm.
you know, uh, causeways and all kinds of great typography, and it's all in this little space, And here we were looking at these humongous installations, and then you bring it down for us, but like the scale changes of the overall object, but the scale within the work is the same. It's like that carries through because the relationship of these items, to each other is consistent.
Hmm.
That's a
Yeah,
beautiful form.
that is actually a larger canvas.
Okay.
And I got this canvas. A friend gave it to me.
5 foot by 3 foot. Yeah.
Like I would never buy this size. I mean, it's a size that I have. Somebody needs to give it to me, and what am I gonna do? I started working on it in the golden foundation
Mm,
and played with pouring. Um, and I actually love this size. I love
yeah.
working with
It's
this
a
size.
nice, unusual size.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see the pouring and the effects and other, ways that you've used the paint. And this is another one, looks like a lagoon and, someplace
There
to.
are also a lot of drawing elements here. When I'm actually coming from drawing, so drawing
Yeah.
is in my background. I love digging back into it. So a lot of the details are drawings in my
Going way
work.
back into your history, now that we've come forward, uh, ev- like I assume you were an artist at a very, very young age. You found your voice through art um as a child. And were you just did it develop over time? Were you supported in your interest in art, and how did that develop into your, I mean, we want to look at these, and then I
Yeah,
just
this is
look
another.
how you grew into it and coming here. Yeah, this is beautiful. Oh, such a wonderful shape or shapes. And combination of your, washes and line work, and looks like a little bit of pouring maybe, I don't know. A lot of texture and vast open space. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous, Etty. It's awesome. So beautiful. Thank you. So yeah, so I was just asking, as we wind down here, just a little bit of a trail of getting to know how you were able to, stay with your art, how it grew as you like came through your childhood years, and just a little brief overview of, how you ended up coming here and, like the forms that your travel took to bring you here a little bit, and um how your work grew. Like, did it start off as 2D and then work into the 3D works?
So you started about being a child drawing. Yeah, I can't remember myself not drawing.
Mhm.
Let's put it this way. I used to, I had all those books, kids books, and I had to illustrate them. So my books had all those
Oh, that's
drawings
great.
in the books. Yes, it's so funny. Um, and I I I love to write and also and
Yeah.
of course to draw and read. And I started by studying literature and psychology, actually. I always did the art, but I didn't think about it as a
Mhm.
profession.
Yeah.
So um, I did that. And then I said, oh, you know what? This is, I can't escape it. So I started, I came here to New York and I went to Parsons
Hmm.
and studied, actually, I studied illustration.
Mm.
That's because I was drawing on my books. No, I
Yeah.
really love the relationship between
Yeah.
text and image.
And
And,
yeah,
and
because you had writing in your history, and
I
yeah.
had writing. I
Yeah.
love the publishing idea. That I love the whole idea of relationship to text, and we did a lot of drawing. We really studied. There was a lot of academic study there. I remember some people came from other schools to take classes in our program. They studied fine arts, and they said, oh, they just talk. They don't teach us anything. So it was, yeah, I'm glad I was there. It was a great education.
That's
And
great.
I actually worked as a editorial illustrator for the New York Times and all the rest
Oh
of
my
it for
goodness.
years. And and I liked it a lot, but I really wanted to do my own thing as an artist, the
Yeah.
freedom of expressing everything and not relating to the text. And so I developed myself on the side, actually.
Yeah.
And as an artist, I had some shows, I did this, I did that, I had to work. And and at a certain point I came back to do my master's in fine arts.
Okay.
So it was like a whole. I have a lot of years of education and like different experiences. It
Yeah.
wasn't for me like, oh, I start at 18 when I'm in art school and then I do
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
elephant, I go to
Yeah.
this residency and to that residency. No, it didn't work for
Right.
me like that.
Right.
So, but I always drew and painted
Yeah.
no matter what's around me. That was like who I was.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
the definition of who I am is like, yes, that's what I'm doing. I can't breathe without, this is who I am. Um, and what else?
Well,
What?
I think what's great about that is, just seeing that we all have our own trajectory. And had you taken any other path, you wouldn't be doing exactly what you're doing now. And you've brought all of that together over the years. Your writing, the reading, the stories, the work. I mean, everything fits together. Art Spiel, like you are continuing your appreciation of art, artists, writing, story, all of that together, based on who you are and on just following your gut, and your dreams. So that's beautiful. Um, so that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing all of this. And people, I will, when I load everything I will put links to your website so everyone can go over it more thoroughly, and to your Instagram and to Art Spiel and everything, Etty. So very much appreciate you doing this, Etty.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. It
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
pleasure and an honor to be with
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Spend
Thank
some
you.
time with you.
I love learning more about you. Thank you so much. And I
Okay.
will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.